Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas meets U.S. President Barack Obama in Washington in an attempt to break the deadlock in talks with Israel. And the U.S. and the EU impose travel bans and asset freezes on senior Russian officials following yesterday's referendum in Crimea. No less than 16,000 people have been arrested by Egypt's military-backed authorities since the ousting of President Mohamed Morsi. Welcome back to the news today. This is the Daily Debate. The Israeli-Palestinian peace talks are entering a crucial stage. Today, another important meeting took place between Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas and U.S. President Barack Obama. But it seems that after more than 7 months of negotiations, the deadlock is tightening and the mistrust between the two sides is only growing. Tonight, we will ask what can break the deadlock and bring peace to the region, and is the leadership of both sides really interested in reaching an agreement? Joining me tonight is Dimitri Diliani. Good evening.
Good evening.
Member of the Fatah Revolutionary Council, and Dr. Zvi Barel, Middle East analyst for Haaretz daily newspaper. Thank you very much for coming.
You're welcome. A pleasure.
Did I ask maybe some naive questions?
Well, we have to stay optimistic because we are living in the area and things are fluctuating and they are very dynamic. Who would have thought that Netanyahu would ever sit with Abbas, and who would have ever thought that Obama would meet with Mahmoud Abbas as the president of the Palestinian state? And still, I mean, we cannot break the deadlock, because I don't believe that we are in a moment in history where the two governments, the Israeli and the Palestinians, are able to come to grips with the idea that peace means to pay some price for. And I understand from the Israeli point of view that we are still not ready to pay the price that peace demands. This is not breaking a deadlock, or this is not deadlock. This is something that has to be managed through the Israeli consciousness, meaning that we are still in a point where we think that occupation of other people's lands means that we have to get something in return, and not just to give the land and withdraw from the occupied territories for arrangements. We throw into the ball a lot of sentimental and historic and religious arguments, while this is basically a political conflict, and we have to solve it through political tools and aims.
And it seems, Dr. Barel, that, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems that the two sides love to play the game. We just heard that Benjamin Netanyahu is insisting on the point of recognition of a Jewish state, and suddenly we hear President Mahmoud Abbas saying that he wants the release of Marwan Barghouti, which was not on the table before, and is a known fact that Israel won't accept that. So it seems that the two sides are really playing a very smart game, I have to say.
Well, I don't think it's equal I don't think it's a game, and I don't think you can put them as equal in the demand. First of all, Benjamin Netanyahu puts the Jewishness of the state of Israel as a precondition to moving forward with the peace process as a whole, with ending the conflict as a whole. Now, for us as Palestinians, President Abbas put it forward as a possibility. If you want to extend negotiations beyond the 9 months that the U.S. has pledged to, if not end the conflict, achieve concrete milestones, something that the U.S. was failed by the policies of Benjamin Netanyahu and the right wing that rules in the state of Israel. And in order for President Abbas basically to market any extension to negotiations, you got to give them something to give to the people. Otherwise, the people reject continuation of the negotiations for one reason.
I'm throwing something on the table here. To give the people something by releasing maybe the next leader of the Palestinians? Is it good for Mahmoud Abbas? Is it a good strategic move to Mahmoud Abbas?
I don't think there's enough room for, if you're talking about personal politics, the guy is 79 years old, so there's not so much room for strategic planning for personal career beyond 79. But President Abbas wants Marwan Barghouti to be released for many reasons. Marwan Barghouti is very popular leader in Palestinian society. In addition, he has much credibility. He would assist in marketing whatever solutions we get to. That's for sure. And because people know that Marwan and Abu Mazen and Mahmoud Abbas at the same time, they have red lines they would not cross. And I think he would make the position of President Abbas much stronger in the Palestinian street.
Well, 79 is still early, you know. Look at Paris, for example, and to other leaders. I mean, just wait and see. When we get there, what would we say? The point is that releasing the prisoners is part of an agreement, which was stated before, and it shouldn't be preconditioned to anything else. I mean, there were supposed to be 3 rounds, and there are going to be the 3 rounds, and I hope that the Israeli government is not going to withdraw from this agreement, because this will in fact break the whole shred of chance that these negotiations are still having. Marwan Barghouti should be released. Why is he better or worse than any other politician or criminal or whatever you may call him, or whatever Israel is calling him? I think that the basic point here is that we should, as Israelis, kind of cease bringing up every Sunday and Thursday a new pretext not to negotiate with the Palestinians. We don't need a recognition by the Palestinians or by any other state as a Jewish state. We are a Jewish state. We are defining ourselves as a Jewish state. We are living as a Jewish state. So what's the
Dr.
point?
Barel, how come this issue? Just Benjamin Netanyahu is bringing it on the table again.
This is a hoax, really. I mean, as long as you don't recognize me as a Jewish state, I have nothing to talk to you about, because I'm a Jewish state. You're not recognizing me. But why haven't we demanded the same from Egypt, from Jordan, from the United States, from anybody else who recognized already Israel in the past, to say, no, you have to state that you're recognizing a Jewish state? Yeah, we are a Jewish state. I mean, by practice and by international recognition. By practice, I mean that we are enforcing all kinds of laws right now, which I would define as racist laws, in order to maintain that we are just a Jewish state, and every other minority is not able really to be accepted as a proper citizen. So, if this is the way we are behaving, we are as a Jewish state, so to say, we don't need any recognition from any other side for it.
Now let's try to look at it from the Palestinian side. Again, another naive question. Aren't Palestinians fed up with everything that is happening and are saying, okay, just let's recognize the Jewish state? It already exists. You know, it's just...
It's not that.
It's a fact. It's a well-known fact. So why should we just...
No, it's like... It's not like that. We recognize the State of Israel in 1993. Now it's the turn of this State of Israel to recognize the State of Palestine in 2014. They haven't done that so far. This relates more to our heritage, to our history, to our identity. If I recognize the Jewishness or the Jewish State of Israel, that means I recognize their narrative, which I disagree with. But it's their narrative. They're in fact asking me to become a Zionist. They're asking me to erase my identity. As a Christian, that means adopting their narrative of the land, which does not include Jesus, for example. So you deprive me of my religion. In fact, I recognized a narrative that deprives me of my religion, my identity. And the same thing goes for Muslims. So what I'm saying, it's much worse than a racist demand, halting the peace process or derailing the political process. It goes further into the identity. You're trying to strip me of my identity. And if I had to choose between a Palestinian state and my identity as Palestinian Christian, Palestinian Muslim, or whatever that is,
you will continue living under occupation for 65 more years?
I will continue to struggle against occupation for another 100, 200 years. It doesn't matter. What matters is I don't lose myself. I don't lose my identity. I don't lose who I am. That's more important to me. And it, honestly, and when it comes even to the racist part of recognizing Israel as a Jewish state, I will not accept that morally either.
Why don't we feel the same? I mean, I don't feel that if I recognize the Palestinian state as a state, that I am deprived of my narrative. I have my narrative, it is my business. You have your narrative, it's your business. I mean, if you want to go back to the religious narrative, if you want to go back to Jesus, that's a different story, but we are not able to solve it then.
I'm not building my state on a religious narrative. I'm not asking you to recognize the narrative that goes behind the state.
Which one is it?
You are asking me.
What is your narrative behind the state?
My narrative is a national narrative. It goes from the roots of my people and carries out throughout history.
Right, and this is what we are going to recognize. And this is what I wish to recognize. I don't want to recognize
the state. You just recognize that state. You have 3 points. You have to recognize the borders. You have to recognize the people. These are the basic things.
What do you want me to recognize? What do you want me to recognize?
The state of Palestine.
The state of Palestine
along the 1967 borders.
All right.
Simple as that.
This is simple. I mean,
we have accepted the state of Israel within the 1948 borders.
Yeah,
and that's it. We have no problems. It's that extra element that requires so much of us that we are unable to
What kind of
give
state
into
are
that.
you ready to recognize? I mean, how would you call Israel?
State of its people.
State of its people.
State
But
of its
Israel,
people?
but Israel has not recognized itself as the state of its people.
That's its problem.
This is the Israeli
supposed to be
So you're
democracy.
but
asking
this is the Israeli problem. It's not your problem.
Exactly. So I don't need to deal with it.
Exactly.
Why should I
So
be?
why should I-
Why should you
tilt
feel
the balance?
deprived? You call them the Zionist state, call them the Jewish state, call them whatever state. I mean, it has no meaning from your point of view, from my understanding, because it has a lot of meaning from my point of view as a Jew, as a Zionist. I have a lot of problem with the way this country is behaving to its minorities. But I mean, why shouldn't you recognize whatever the elephant's state?
I'm not, because if the elephant state or the elephant story, that narrative deprives me.
It doesn't.
It does.
Where does it deprive you?
I just
If
gave you
it's
an
the
example.
Jewish state,
An
then
example.
it's-
Your narrative does not include Jesus. If I accept your narrative, I am eliminating.
I have no Jesus narrative.
Exactly, you have no.
Why should I recognize it?
You don't.
It's a Jewish state.
So when I adopt your narrative,
I
take.
I need to
have
understand.
no
I need-
Crusaders narrative. I have no Muslim narrative. I have no other narrative. Yeah,
Exactly.
But
That's part of
I
my
need to.
narrative. I'm willing to give it up.
Dimitri,
you're
I
not
need-
giving it up because you have your state.
You have
your
your state. This is
It's a
exactly the point that I want to
it's a
understand.
political
I'm talking about recognizing the state of Israel as a Jewish state. If I do that, I buy into your narrative.
Do you
if
recognize
you believe
the
in that
Jewish
narrative,
people?
it's your business.
Do you recognize
Don't
the
make
Jewish
me
people?
a Zionist.
Do you recognize the Jewish people, not the Jewish state? The Jewish people. Do you recognize them?
Recognize the Jewish religion.
No,
and the
not
state of
religion.
Israel.
Jewish people.
Jewish people. Do you recognize
As people?
As people.
I don't understand your question yet.
There is a people called the Jewish people all over the world. Do you recognize that there is a people?
I recognize the followers of the Jewish religion, and I recognize the people of the state of Israel.
So from your point of view, there is no state. There cannot be state for the Jewish people, because you don't recognize the Judaism as a political being. You just recognize Jews as the followers of the Jewish denomination.
Exactly.
So that they don't deserve a land.
And you have succeeded in establishing a state.
These are the same argument that the Mufti has claimed in 1919, that the Jews have no right for a state because it's just a religion.
Look, you already earned the right to a state, regardless of what I think.
How?
You
In
already
your
have the
eyes.
state.
How? Why should we have a state if we are not a people? I mean, according to your system, if we are not a people, we don't deserve a state. This is playing into the hands of
Whether you
Netanyahu.
deserve or you deserve, you
Gentlemen, I
deserve
just want-
it.
gentlemen,
And the
I just want
hands
to
of
understand
Netanyahu
something.
by
Gentlemen,
saying
just a
it.
second.
In fact, to the hands of Lieberman or Bennett, while saying that the Jews are not a people, they don't deserve a state, and this is what Bennett is claiming.
This
No,
is what
I have to put a point. I just want to put a point.
Okay.
I just want to put a point. I need to understand, how do you accept the fact, and do you want to accept the fact that other people will recognize you as a Palestinian state and as a Palestinian with your narrative, and you are not willing to accept the other side with his narrative and his religion and his state?
No. You went way far. Are you sitting with us? Because I never said that. What I said is, I recognize the state of Israel, you recognize the state of Palestine. My narrative is mine, yours is yours. I don't ask you to recognize mine, I'm not going to recognize yours.
So what the problem with
that
Jewish,
is the problem.
When it's the majority of people who are living in Israel are Jewish?
It doesn't go
8 million
like that.
people
It
cannot
doesn't
disappear.
go.
Of state do you recognize when you recognize Israel?
Okay, would you give me a definition of a Jewish state?
A definition of a Jewish state? I don't know.
And start by defining who's a Jew to begin with.
Do you hear the music, gentlemen?
I'm
Do you
not
hear the music,
defining who is a
gentlemen? The
Jew
music
because
says
I'm
that I
not-
have to rap. You two continue fighting.
I mean,
We will continue fighting
you
outside.
asked me to recognize
We're going
something
out
that
for
you don't
2
even
minutes
know
break.
what it is.
2 minutes break, and then we will be back with the I-24 News one-on-one. Don't go anywhere.
Nobody wants to stop.